Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmitty, Swanee and Clarkey visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised. All right. Welcome back. Hello. How are we all?
Very well, thank you.
Yes, great.
What are you drinking, Paul?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. We're having a Durif from Domaine Asmara, which is a little winery in Heathcote. And it came with a cork, which was a bit of a challenge. But luckily we still had a bottle opener, so here we are enjoying it.
I found out, because I listen to other people who drink wine a lot in America, that Durif is referred to as Petit Syrah in America.
Oh, really?
Referred to as Durif, I think, in Australia and possibly South Africa. Yep. There you go.
Well, there you go.
Didn't know what Petit Syrah is, but now we do. It's Durif.
Thanks for that. And Schmitty, you're on the Pims and Dry by the looks of that.
I am. I've gone old school Schmitty, back to one of my original drinks, and I've got Pims and Dry. I even went personally to the Dan Murphy's to get some dry ginger ale and Pims for today, because I thought I'll just, start there, because I need to pace myself a bit, I think.
If I had have gone back to one of my old drinks, one of my favourites was when I was at uni, they had a cheap alternative to Malibu, which was called Grunter's Wipeout. So it was like a coconut-based poor man's cousin of Malibu. And we used to mix that with pineapple juice and then, take it in like large volumes out to parties. And you'd come back and you were so sticky because invariably you would have, spilt the pineapple juice all over you. It was just vile. But that would
How
be,
much
if I come and I turn around, I'm saying, oh, I'm just having a Grunter's Wipeout and pineapple juice. You'll know that's one of my old drinks.
It's Malibu. Malibu is a rum based, isn't it?
Coconutty. It tastes like a holiday.
Tastes like summer.
Surface Paradise in 1988. Yeah.
Tastes like reef tanning oil.
Correct.
It certainly smells like it. Wouldn't that then be a poor man's pina colada?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, not wrong. I mean, there's a couple of ingredients missing, but I think it's, based on the general, summer holiday cocktail kind of thing. But yeah, I've had a pina colada and it was not a it was somewhat
didn't
better.
Taste like a
Grunter's Wipeout.
Grunter's Wipeout.
I mean, even the name. Where did they get Grunters from? I mean, even if they just had called it Wipeout, But oh gosh, I will never forget that. Grunter's Wipeout.
Yuck.
Yes.
Anyway, well, I don't even know that Grunter's Wipeout is available at the Dan Murphy's, but the next time I go, I shall have a look for it for your old time's sake.
So, to be fair, I haven't looked into it either, but perhaps I should. And I could do like a walk down the other aisles and go and visit my old friend Southern Comfort, who didn't give me any comfort at all. Or maybe a bit of Midori and milk just to settle the stomach, because, you don't always want to have it with lemonade. When I think about what we used to drink for $1 at like RSL's, I'm amazed that we can drink it.
I cannot imagine Midori and milk go well without curdling.
Well, it was like a milkshake. I don't know how they ever served it quickly. I didn't have it often, but I've definitely had it. It was more often that you'd have it like, an illusion or something that was a bit more, looked like a green soft drink, but I have had it with milk.
Yeah. Well, my nieces are very fond of Japanese slippers.
Oh, yes. What's in that?
Yeah,
I can't remember. I know it's a Midori cocktail, but I don't know what's in it.
Midori, and I think it could be lime juice. It's very acidic.
Sophisticated compared to what I was drinking.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. The drinking of this day and age, I, like you, had a little bit of a Southern Comfort period from the time I was about 19 to 20. I don't think it lasted much longer than that.
Oh, no. I think my period probably lasted from, let's see, maybe year 12, and it ended in a paddock somewhere where I wasn't feeling terribly well, and I don't know that it ever sort of made an appearance after that without me feeling very unwell. It's not my friend.
Mine ended with me sleeping in the back of a Mazda 323. because I went to someone's 21st somewhere, and I'd been invited and I was excited to go, and then I forgot all about it. And I was tidying my bedroom up. And this is like, I don't know, it must have been at, say, 7 or 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday night. And I found the invite and I realised it was that night. And it was down past Geelong, this party. And so I ran into the front room and I said to Mum and Dad, I'm supposed to be at that 21st right now. I've got to go. And they were like, oh, okay. So I just grabbed a pillow and my duvet.
And your dressing gown.
No, I didn't have one in those days. I'm not as sophisticated as I am now. And grabbed a bottle of Southern Comfort and raced down to, in those days, there was the only shop open. It was a 24-hour chemist in Moonee Pond. Picked up a bottle of perfume as a gift and then hightailed it down I don't know what road it was, Ballarat Road probably, or Geelong Road, because it was before any significant freeways or anything that made it easy. And I think I got there at like 11 o'clock at night. Party was in full swing, and so I felt the need to catch up with my Southern Comfort.
Oh, dangerous.
Catch-ups are always bad.
I just remember waking up in the back of the car. I don't know what time I'd gone to bed, maybe 4 or something. And the sun was streaming in and it was summer, so the car was heating up fast. And all the parishioners, because I'd forgotten that this house was 3 doors down from a church, and all the parishioners were showing up to go to church, and they were parking on either side of me in my car, looking in the window at this young girl asleep in the back seat. Oh, that was a bit embarrassing. But
classy.
That's the things you do in your youth. Yeah. All right. So I suppose we should introduce ourselves.
Okay.
I'm Schmitty.
I'm Clarky.
And I'm Swanee.
And together
Trial by Wine.
Trial by Wine.
Seamless.
Perfect.
Yes.
So who's got a story for this week?
Me. I have one.
Ooh, Carla's up.
Now, it does involve murder. So I guess we need to tread with a little bit more respect than perhaps we have in some of our other podcasts. But it's out of the US, and I'm going to title it this. It was How a Social Media Feud Led to the Murder of a Young Tennessee Couple.
Of a couple?
Uh-huh. Yes.
Remember what you said last week, Clarky? America. Guns are fun, apparently.
Okay.
Anyway.
Now, there are lots of different sort of layers to this story. So in trying to tell it, what I'm going to do is try and go back to sort of the beginning and give you an idea about, who our major players are and how they came to be in this particular town. So we need to go back to 2005, and we have a family, a daughter and her mother and father arrive in a little town which is known as Mountain City in Tennessee. And there's only about 2,500 people that live there. It's a very sleepy little town. Everybody knows everybody. Nothing bad ever happens there. It's just a quaint little place. Anyway, Janelle Potter and her parents, Barbara and Marvin, Marvin's also known as Buddy, arrive to, I guess, sort of start a new chapter in their life. Janelle is in her 20s, but very much reliant on her parents. She is not in great health, but wherever I read about this, it's never gone into a lot of detail. And I think some of it is unclear as to actually how unwell she was versus how much she actually depended on her parents and how much they liked parenting her, or sort of, like mothering her, protecting her, supporting her. So it wasn't a particularly sort of healthy dynamic. Yes, that they cared for her very much, but I think that they exacerbated the situation and her illnesses by sort of, keeping them very much to themselves. So they arrive in Mountain City, and she has no friends. She's never had a job. She doesn't have a driver's license. So she's very much reliant on her parents. Certainly if she wants to get anywhere, she's driven by her parents. They have access to her social media, which she uses obviously as the only way that she sort of connects with people, because she has no friendship group. And there's one thing that comes up time and time again, which says that it's the fact that she's very tall. She's 6 foot tall, so she's quite imposing, but she has a very childlike voice. And I think as a result of that, she does seem quite awkward. And it does say that she had been bullied at high school And I think the move to Mountain City was, again, a fresh start for them, just to sort of start again with their daughter. She did have a sister. She does have a sister, but she was somewhat estranged from the family, and she did not travel with them. It was just the one daughter, Janelle, and her parents, Barbara and Marvin. Right, so time goes on. She's with her parents. She's online, but again, no real connections with anybody in the local community. And then one day in 2009, while collecting a prescription for her medication, one of the pharmacy clerks, a lady called Tracy Greenwell, felt really sorry for Janelle because she was, as she said, sheltered and sick. And I think sheltered probably is the more telling term here. So as a result of that, she asked if she would like to come and meet some of her friends. So Janelle was totally up for that. And the first person she introduced Janelle to was actually her brother. And Tracy's brother was called Billie Payne. And by all accounts, Billie was just a really good guy. Everybody liked him, and he was very kind and very open. And from the outset, he started to invite Janelle to social activities that he and his friends were participating in. Where I struggle a little bit with this is one of the first things they mentioned is the fact that she went rock climbing and hiking, which does seem a bit of a stretch for a girl who had been sheltered and sick. But
I've got this mental image of her, and it's probably really wrong, but I'm picturing Miranda Hart, the
Yes,
English comedian, just because she's so tall. I'm like, oh, okay. So all I can see in my mind is Miranda Hart rock climbing, which is quite the image. Anyway,
it was funny though, because of all the things that you'd think that somebody who'd never really done anything would go and do. Maybe she just watched. But anyway, the point being, for the first time, perhaps ever, and certainly the first time in a long time, she had been invited to something and she was starting to meet some friends. And when she was there, she sort of, I think, started to fall a little bit for Billie because he was just nice to her and he was including her in things, and no one had ever done that. So Billie also went on and introduced him to his cousin, and that man's name was Jamie Curd. And then Jamie and Janelle coupled up. But
right.
Yes, in them becoming an item,
Uh-huh,
no one else was allowed to know about this because I think Janelle was very much concerned about what her parents would think. And I somehow sort of think she nearly played this role of the sheltered child. So she and Billie started it to become an item as such. Billie was very
No, Jamie.
Billie or Jamie?
Jamie. Did I say Billie?
Right.
No,
you said Billie, yeah.
They are cousins.
They've all got E names that
It's
end
very
with
confusing.
IE.
So let's recap. So we've got Janelle has moved to Mountain View City with her parents, Barbara and Marvin. She meets a lady called Tracy who introduces her very kindly to her brother, Billie Payne. And Billie Payne, who is so lovely, introduces our friend Janelle to his cousin, Jamie, and they become an item. But nobody knows about them becoming an item. It's very much a sort of secret thing. I'm not sure that even the other cool kids who they're hanging out with know. I think it's been very much kept under wraps because Janelle's so concerned about what her parents might think. So very conveniently for Janelle, Billie is quite handy with computers. And that's one thing that Janelle does spend a lot of time on is her computer. So she would have him come to the house as her friend. She introduced him to her parents as her friend. So he would be able to come.
Sorry. Yes. Is it Billie or Jamie? Because you said Billie again.
Oh, no. It's Jamie.
It's all right. So it's Jamie.
It's
okay.
Jamie, my mistake. Oh, my God. There's another. It gets even more confusing. You won't believe how confusing this gets. Anyway, so he's in their house. He befriends her parents. And then when they're, off in her room fixing her computer, they're holding hands and, being sweet. But I don't know that there's much more than that. But they are considered themselves an item. So it's all looking pretty good for Janelle. For the first time, she's got a social life. Things are picking up. But at that very moment, things start to look a bit, tough for her on Facebook. And she starts to get these anonymous threats. So she starts saying to people, why are people putting all these notes on my Facebook page? People are saying, and I quote, "I'm a bad person. I am horrible." And people are threatening to rape me. And when I started to look into this, what you find is that people would say that one of Janelle's issues was the fact that although she was, a strikingly large woman with a young voice, she had a very immature outlook. So she often spoke like she was a 10-year-old, and her thoughts and the way she spoke.
Yeah.
So I think she was possibly just a little bit delayed in her development as such. So when she would talk about stuff, she would say things like, they say I'm a bad person. I mean, she's not using any swearing or anything.
So they weren't saying that. They were saying meaner things, and
Well,
she was just
her leap is from I'm a bad person and I'm horrible to they're going to rape me. So it's quite a leap.
Fair escalation.
Yes. Having said that, her mother, who had access to her Facebook page, that was part of the deal, her mother then went on and saw that this was being said to her. So her mother put a note on Facebook begging the people not to say anything mean to Janelle anymore. I don't know that was super successful. I'm not sure that having your mum go onto Facebook for you when you're in your late 20s is going to help. But anyway, she tried.
Oh, bless her.
But Janelle thinks she knows who is behind this. And she comes out publicly and says that the person she believes is saying all this stuff is one of her Facebook friends. And her name, just to make things even more confusing, is Billie Jean Hayworth.
Uh-huh.
But who is Billie Jean Hayworth? It
Well,
turns
Billie
out
Jean is my lover, that's for sure.
Billie Jean Hayworth is now dating and living with their young baby, Billie Payne. So the couple of Billie and Billie Jean
is his lover.
Yeah.
Is his lover. She's just a girl and he is the one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Billie and Billie
Billie
Jean.
Payne is the one that we think that all along Janelle has always been sweet on him. And although she's coupled up, but I mean, I don't think there's really a great deal going on with his cousin, Jamie. I think it's always Billie that she was in love with. So she's not a big fan of Billie Jean Hayworth. And now that they've had a baby, she's really not particularly happy.
Is the baby named Billie as well?
Do you know what? I don't know the name of the baby, but it could be like Billie Jean Jr. or something. You go Billie Squared.
Yes.
They should definitely have kept that in there. And it's at this point that a feud erupts on social media. This is kind of the beginning of the really nasty stuff. Prior to that, it's just been Janelle saying people are saying things to her. There was one thing that I did sort of, again, think, it sort of speaks to how immature Janelle was. There was a report that they'd had something thrown into their onto their front lawn. And the photo of it is a small stone. You know when children paint stones? Someone had painted the name Billie Payne on one side, but perfectly neatly. And on the other side, it said Billie Jean Hayworth. And they'd thrown it onto their lawn. It was so light. I mean, you really could have thrown it through the front window if you wanted to. But someone had clearly just tossed it onto their lawn. And she was saying
onto
again,
whose lawn?
Onto Janelle's.
Onto Janelle's lawn.
Well, I suspect Janelle probably
taunting.
did that. Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, would you put your own name on it? No.
The man I love is taunting me by throwing a rock with his name and his partner's name.
Yes. So it all starts to get a little bit silly here. And I'm going to give you a quote that is attributed to Janelle. So Janelle said, she wished that Bill and Billie Jean and that damn baby would die.
That damn baby.
Absolutely.
That's a bit harsh.
A friend of Hayworth and Payne said that she was devastated when she'd read that. Janelle was always saying that somebody was mad at her. Somebody hated her. Somebody wanted to kill her. She was paranoid about it. But Janelle said there was a real threat of violence against her. In one incident, police photographed a rock. That was fair.
That was
in lieu of any other evidence.
Not a stone, not a big rock. I mean, I'm talking about a very smooth,
like a pebble, like a smooth
a
pebble.
child has painted. Yeah.
That's what I imagine. The kind of thing that you get in a nice stream bed.
Absolutely.
And you skip.
Smooth,
a
beautiful to run it. And with the names Billie Payne and Billie Jean painted on it. It was painted perfectly. Like it was very nice. Eventually, both sides deleted each other as friends. As far as
oh, you're cancelled. I delete you.
Hashtag unfriend.
Right.
That's the beef. So it's not anything particularly bad at that point. That's what's publicly been seen. Beg your pardon?
Is that the tiff that then led to the murder? Is that kind of where or is there
We're
a bigger
headed-
social media tiff?
That's kind of where we're headed, kind of. There are a couple of twists. So that's the lay of the land. And then sadly, Janelle's former friends are found murdered. So on
What?
January 31, and we jump now to 2012.
Oh, sorry. Billie,
the Billies.
and Billie.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
A friend of Payne.
So we
and
talk about
Hayworth-
some other friends.
No.
Some other friends she had in a previous town. Her former friends were found murdered.
Well, they were her friends until she had her Facebook
Yeah,
beef with
yeah.
them. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So January 31, 2012, a friend of Billie Payne and Billie Jean Hayworth find them dead with a single gunshot wound to their faces.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah. So Billie Payne was found dead in his bed. Not only had he been shot in the face, but his throat had also been slashed. And this is the bit which is really dreadful. Billie Jean had been cradling their baby in her arms when she died. The 7-month-old baby was covered in her blood but had survived, and he is totally fine, and he will not be mentioned again today. There's no need. He's fine.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll park that. But we have a dead couple who clearly had beef both ways with Janelle Potter. So the day after,
not significant, but not significant beef.
Not that you would have thought. No, not really.
Just, I fancy your husband. How dare you be with him, you slag? And that's about. And then that's it. And how dare you throw a pebble with your names on it on my lawn?
Exactly. So the day after, the police head off to the Potters. And the reason they head off to the Potters is because it's public knowledge that they'd had this sort of social media Facebook feud with them.
As you said, it's a town of 2,000.
Everybody knows everybody. That was, and nothing like that, really ever happened there. They were so shocked.
A bit like living in Frome.
Quite possibly. So off they head to interview the Potters. So Janelle and her mother and father. In interviewing Janelle, she hides any romantic connection that she had with Kurd. So that's Jamie.
Jamie. Yeah.
I was getting confused again.
And in interviewing, her mom, her dad, Jamie, because he was their cousin and also friendly, and he'd always stayed by Janelle. When the feud was happening, he had taken Janelle's side. So he is.
Was he still with her?
Yeah. So they interview him, and then later in that same week, they bring Jamie in for a polygraph test, and sure enough, it indicates that he has lied about knowing the identity of the killer. And I don't think it took an awful lot to get this from Kurd, but during the interview, there is a major breakthrough. And that major breakthrough is that whilst he's being interviewed, he says to the police, "Is the CIA here?" And they were like, "Sorry, what do you mean?" And he was like, "Is there someone here from the CIA? I'm acting on behalf of the CIA." And they're like, "No."
He's acting on behalf of the CIA.
Kurd tells the detectives that he has been texting with a man named Chris, who is in the CIA, and that his job was to protect Janelle at all costs.
What
Jesus.
the? I don't know what's happened, but I now have.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
So
yep. I think I've caught up. Yep.
To his knowledge, liaising with a CIA operative in protecting Janelle.
Right. Yep.
Right.
And after, I think it says it was 6 hours or something, after the interrogation, Kurd just comes out and says, "Look, Janelle's dad shot them. It was him. He killed them. He killed both of them. He shot them both."
Janelle's dad did.
Janelle's dad did. So they get a search warrant for the Potter's house, and off they go. When they get to the Potter's house, there's an arsenal of weapons. But that's not surprising because...
Sorry. I honestly thought you said there's an asshole of weapons. Sorry. An arsenal. Full. Sorry. Chock is full of weapons. Sorry, my mistake.
It's not hugely surprising because Marvin had been a former soldier and he had served in Vietnam. But it had to be said that he had raised eyebrows with his not-so-subtle hints that he had been in the CIA. Now, I don't think he ever had, but when he came to town, he used to name drop that constantly.
CIA connections around this family.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
right.
he did have weapons. They didn't actually find a match for the murder weapon, but he did have many weapons. They found printed photos of the victims. They took their family
What?
computer.
As in printed photos of the victims after they were murdered, or
No, before.
Right.
You know, some of them been scratched. There was
So
ones
like they're
that said
scoping them
on
out or
it, you know.
something?
I mean, kind of stuff that you'd expect in a TV
teenager.
drama.
From a
you know, kind of
13-year-old
obvious
child.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they took away the dad's truck. And in the back of his truck, he had 2 bagfuls of shredded documents.
Because he works for the CIA. That makes
Exactly.
sense.
Well, wouldn't if you had gone to the effort of shredding them and you're about to go and murder someone, wouldn't you go and get rid of them? I mean, would you leave them in the back of your truck
Exactly.
to be found?
Burn them. If they're so important that they had to be shredded and you don't want anyone to know what's going on, I'd burn them. Anyway.
So you know what
Okay.
they did with all of them? They put them back together.
They put it back together. Yeah.
Somebody meticulously
Some
put
poor
each of them back
bastard.
together. And what did they find?
What did they find?
They found that a CIA agent called Chris had been corresponding with Barbara, who is Janelle's mother, about threats
my
to her
God.
daughter's life.
Oh my God.
The
Oh my
computers-
God.
Sorry, the Potter's computer, on it, police found hundreds of emails sent from the CIA agent
Carla.
Chris.
They must be good because the look on your face, because I can tell you're coming to.
Oh, I
and
don't think
here's
I am.
such an email.
I don't know that
Oh.
I am. But
the look on your face is just incredible. Okay,
not
keep going.
horror.
Sorry.
They had come from the same IP address as the Potter's home.
Oh, Janelle.
Yeah.
Janelle was pretending to be the CIA
Janelle
agent,
/ Chris.
So
Yeah.
our poor, unassuming, you know, slow, awkward girl has managed to pull this one.
I don't know nothing about birthing babies. I'm just a CIA agent.
She had
God.
used the identity of a man right now, a man that she had been to school with to create a fictitious, you know, person. And this person does exist, and it turns out that he's a police officer now in Delaware, and his name was Chris Jaden. And in taking his photographs, his name and identity, she was able to catfish her own parents. Prosecutors believe Janelle used the fake identity to fool her parents and goad her dad to kill.
What?
So, yes.
Yeah, that's shocking. That is shocking.
Can you believe it? This sweet girl who still maintains her innocence. So basically, there was
So who does she? Who, okay, so she maintains her innocence.
Yep.
Does she have a theory as to who did it, or was it just Chris from the CIA?
I don't know. I don't know what she said about that.
And I mean, not being funny, but how stupid. I mean, I shouldn't be victim blaming because they're kind of victims, but parents
Oh,
and
totally.
the boyfriend for
So
just
the dad really
believing
did.
this random.
So what they
murdered-
did was
yeah.
what Janelle did was over a period of time.
Was it just the dad, or did Jamie
So she
help?
started communicating with her mother. And so in the communication that she would send to her mother under the guise of Chris, Mr. CIA, she would say things like, my they treated their daughter, she loved this. You know, again, it was this sort of like, oh, you know, this, we're sheltering, we're protecting, you know, we'll do anything to protect our daughter. She started calling Chris her son because she was saying we have this amazing relationship with him. This man's really protecting our daughter. And it's, again, we often come to this when we're talking about catfishing. It's being able to suspend belief. I mean, disbelief.
Disbelief, yeah.
How do you buy into all this stuff? And people just seem to want something
I
so
suppose
badly
in some ways,
that they can do that.
yeah.
But I mean,
I suppose it's exciting. I suppose in some ways, that like it's out of the ordinary, or it's I don't know.
I'm just.
I mean,
still
if it
shocked.
happened to
Sorry, go.
no, go ahead.
No.
I've forgotten what I was saying now. Go ahead.
I'm just shocked that we went from the stone incident
Oh, the
to
pebble.
the double murder,
Yes.
and the dad has somehow done it. Like, I thought there was going to be something that came out that was quite, I don't know, a bit
Bad.
more serious.
No,
Yeah.
it was all about Janelle puppeteering everybody in the background. So she, by communicating with her family, like her mother, and saying the CIA operative was doing it to protect her, the mother then totally believed that. And so the mother would then communicate that with her husband and say, you know, we've got to look after Janelle. The dad was pretty trigger happy anyway, by all accounts. They said, you know, he always packed a gun, and you know, he was just that kind of, you know, it's a bit of a caricature of an American, you know, gun wielding guy, but he was that kind of person. I felt most sorry for the guy that was the cousin. He ended up being involved with them. He didn't kill him, but he ended up with the murder of his own cousin because he went along with it. I
think there's a big difference between loving a good gun, right? And feeling empowered because you have a gun, and going down to a shooting range and shooting things, or even hunting, you know, going and hunting animals. Quite different to murdering not only a person who's in his bed, right? So completely defenseless and cutting his throat.
Yes.
But shooting a woman who's cradling a baby.
It's terrible.
I mean, that's not, and in what way? Like, there's no like, wouldn't you go to the police and say, I've received all this communique from someone saying that my daughter's in danger? It's just crazy.
Yep.
To just jump straight to, no worries, I know who they are, I'm going to nip around and knock them off. I mean, that's just, it's not to suspend your disbelief.
It is
a
stretch.
It's an enormous
Jesus.
stretch.
She's quite manipulative then, isn't she?
Oh, totally. And this is sort of comes back to, I did sort of allude to the sister that exists. So the sister, I think, is old. Well, I know she is older than her, but I don't believe they've had anything to do with each other. This is going back to the court case. They hadn't seen each other in about 10 years. And she said that it was sort of like this mutually beneficial dynamic between her and her parents. She said she would play, you know, the victim as such. Maybe victim's not the right, helpless. Let's say helpless.
Needy.
Her parents would then feed into that. And she said when her parents would leave the room, she would laugh with her older sister and say, oh my God, I can get them to do anything. So she wasn't as, you know,
literally
innocent.
She wasn't innocent. Yeah. No, it doesn't sound like she's innocent at all. It sounds like she's a psycho.
She's totally a psychopath. She certainly proved that to be true.
Well, she doesn't have any empathy for her parents. Like, what's happened to her father? What happened
in
to
October 2013, Marvin, the father, was sentenced to first-degree murder, 2 life sentences for both Billie and Billie Jean. Jamie Curd, because he testified against Marvin, he got 25 years. And then after that, both Janelle...
So, does that mean that Jamie was involved in the murders as well?
Yes, I believe he was there, if I understand that correctly.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't think he didn't. I think he went, but I don't think he...
But he was an accessory for sure.
His cousin's throat.
But you wouldn't get 25 years if you weren't a major accessory to that.
Yeah. So he's done that. And then he just told them everything they needed to know after. But could you imagine him being in that room saying, is the CIA here?
I'm sorry, where's Chris?
Yeah,
I need to speak to Chris.
Chris,
I know Chris will be here soon. Where's Chris?
I've been communicating with a CIA operative, So Janelle and her mother went through another trial, and they have both been found guilty of all charges that were put against them, of which there must have been many, I don't know, but they have got life in prison, both of them. So, but Janelle apparently from prison still maintains her innocence and said, you know, I never want them dead, but I mean,
Well, she's innocent in as much as she didn't pull the trigger or cut someone's throat, but she
totally orchestrated it. And her mother did as well, because her mother was the one that got the dad to do it. You know, it was just, she said basically it's either we get there first because she'll get killed. We don't want to have to do it, but we will. We will kill so that she's not killed. That was her reasoning.
Jesus.
Well, yeah, that is quite the case.
I don't find any of it particularly interesting, except for the fact that the daughter was able to catfish her own mother. I mean, obviously, if you're the person that your catfish is in the same house as you, you can say whatever you want, or say, oh, you know, your daughter's just, you know, Janelle's just left the house. I can see her. You know, you need to keep an eye on her. You know, she was able to do that, and her mum fell for everything. And again, I just don't know how people fall for everything. It really annoys me, which He's probably not
Which
the
is the running
emotion.
theme of your response to things.
I
Is
know,
how
I
stupid
know.
can these people
How
be?
stupid can these people be? How stupid do they want to allow themselves to be? But then, there's one thing catfishing someone, but going in, as you say, it's a stretch to go from, having a pebble thrown in your front door that has someone's names on it to having them murdered. So that's not the connection. The connection is clearly Janelle and the manipulation of her parents.
But it's also a stretch that you didn't do any fact verification, that you didn't, go, okay, why would a person from the CIA reach out and tell us that this person's in danger and what? Like, it makes no sense. She's not an operative. They're not jihadists. There's nothing that substantiates a claim that the CIA would involve themselves with this, I'm sorry to say it, 6 foot tall Miranda Hart-esque individual
Childlike
in
voice,
downtown.
yes. Yeah,
Childlike voice in downtown
Mountain View.
Tennessee. I mean, Miranda Hart has a nice deep voice and she sounds very good and she's a very attractive woman. So I'm not playing her down. It's just her height that makes me think of her. But
What was it called? Rock climbing.
Rock climbing, yeah.
That might be the hardest part for me to believe out of the whole story.
The rock
This large
climbing.
woman,
She went rock climbing.
very tall woman, never left the house really, but all of a sudden she's rock climbing. It's a stretch for me.
But also, I mean, she must be very manipulative because then Jamie starts going out with her.
Yeah.
Like, when you
fixing
start
her computer.
Yeah, but they found all these little selfies of them. They were just sort of, it was somewhat innocent, but again, it was innocent in the fact that she was getting him to do what she wanted him to do, but her parents were not aware of that. So, again, manipulative. She's, he's come to fix the computer and then they're taking selfies and cuddling and whatever else, which her parents had never seen. No one had seen that until the court case, obviously. So she was making him think that they were in a, relationship whilst hiding that from her parents. So she's quite the piece of work, Janelle Potter.
Is she what?
All that from a bit of Facebook beef.
Yeah, I know, right? It's such an escalation.
That's a good word for it.
I just unfriend. Like I haven't had big beefs with people, but I've had a couple of people perhaps misunderstand me when I've made sarcastic commentary, and they've sent me, feral, very angry PMs, and then they've unfriended me, and I've thought, okay, fair enough. Fine.
I did read an article that was about this, and it was entitled "Unfriended," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I would feel comfortable with calling it that when unfriending somebody means you shot them in the face and slashed their throat. I would call that beyond an unfriending.
It's the ultimate unfriending.
It sure is.
That is really cancelling someone.
I've unfriended you on Facebook, and now I'm going to unfriend you from life. Far out.
That's terrible. So the poor people that were involved, by all accounts, I don't think they ever really did anything. I think she sort of was unhappy that, this lovely guy was in a nice relationship. And yeah, I'm sure there was probably a little bit of mutual harassment, as probably people did to each other, but she was the one that was driving that. And she was certainly the one that was escalating what was actually happening. These ideas that they were going to cut her up or rape her or whatever else, versus someone saying, I'm not very nice. And then she also said that their main problem was that she was too pretty.
Is there any evidence that these people actually did send her these messages, though? If she's been falsifying herself as Chris, the CIA agent, and she's obviously, pretty good with
she
social media, whatever.
Well.
I mean, why does she just send herself messages? And then, she's been sending her mother all these messages. She's been, manipulating everyone. I mean, I'm not even convinced that the Billies did anything.
I don't know.
Apart from make the mistake of being in a relationship, and she formed a, serious jealousy about it.
And then they unfriended each other. So she said she believes she unfriended them, but they also unfriended her. So that should have been the end of that.
They probably heard around town she was saying psycho stuff about them, and they were
that was the end of that. And that could have been the end of it all had it not been for Chris, the CIA agent, whipping up trouble. And her being
so pretty.
Yes. Don't you just love that old chestnut? It's like when that comes out, you go, oh, okay, that's what we're dealing with. Okay, I've got it.
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
That's why I've always had problems, though. Always because people are jealous of my looks.
It's a curse.
Oh, it's always jealousy. It is a curse. It is. I can't help it if I'm
so
beautiful,
pretty.
as my father would say.
Yeah, you're so pretty. People are nasty to you, and so you have to kill them.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. I just unfriend
That
them.
old chestnut.
So I think
Yeah,
that
it's a bit
Billy
harsh.
and his friends believed that she had been in love with him, and that was why she was so fixated. And on the flip side of that was her telling her parents that the reason, or what they were motivated by, was the fact that she was just too pretty. So that's why everyone was being so darn nasty to her, was the fact that she was just too pretty.
And was she
I
pretty?
think her parents would just.
Did you find a picture
Do
of
we
her?
have a
What?
photo of her?
Yeah. She wasn't unattractive. But I mean, I don't think that would have been the main reason.
Well,
she didn't look. She just looked very normal, to be honest. There were pictures of her that looked better than others, but no, she wasn't unattractive. I just don't quite. I think it was. I think she might have had some mental health issues that I always allude to with everybody. I think everybody's got mental health issues, don't I?
yeah, particularly anyone who
You just can't
manipulates
behave like this
their
and not.
killing someone.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a photo of her.
Yeah.
Because I can't help myself.
Has she got curly hair in the photo you're looking at?
She's actually more like Miranda Hart than I had even imagined,
you're
except
good.
with curly hair.
You are good.
I am good.
Can you share it?
She's not unattractive.
I will share it, but I'm now looking at another photo and I'm trying to work out. Hang on, that could be Buddy the dad. Hang on a sec. I will share it as soon as I work out how. Sorry, here we go. Share. All right, this is the story. I think. Can you see this?
Yep.
You're seeing.
Yep.
That's her.
Oh, excellent. This might be the one that's got the picture of the stone in it, I think. She looks nice. That's the best picture of her, I think. But if you, I think if you continue to scroll, you might find the stone. There's Jamie. Oh, go down. I think you're going to see the stone.
Oh, there it is. Oh, my God. There, and it's Bill Payne.
I'm sorry. Is that the most threatening, menacing stone you've ever seen?
What's it say under that? There's letters down there.
A rock. Billie Payne.
It says
probably the other
Bill
side.
Payne, but then see underneath
the other side
it
has
something
her name.
else.
It says Billie Jean on the other side.
Oh, do they show us the other side? They don't.
No, but I've seen that somewhere else, I think.
Oh, and they're the ones that were murdered. Billy and Billy.
Yeah.
He's also older.
I just think it's a bad photo of him. There's Ma and Pa, I think.
Oh,
he's got his gun on, look.
Mum and Dad.
See?
Yeah.
You need your guns when you're doing your gardening, don't you? It's important.
To be weaponed up.
It is.
You've got to have you never know what's going to happen. You've got to shoot a slug or something,
yeah.
A slug.
A vicious worm might jump out at you.
Oh!
That's what he left at the back of his car. Yeah, the documents.
Oh,
jeez,
and what I enjoy about this is where it says, an agent meticulously reconstructed. I bet you an intern meticulously reconstructed that.
Yes.
Could you imagine? It's puzzle time.
Oh.
I feel like by the time they'd finished putting all of those documents back together, they would have already checked the computer and found the emails. Because that's like a 6-month job.
It's so true, isn't it? It's like, oh, let's just hack into the computer first, shall we?
That's right. I think she looks scary in that photo.
I think she looks too pretty.
Oh,
and
well,
that's her problem.
Sorry, that's the word I meant, not scary.
I mean, to be fair, when you think about really pretty girls like Miranda Kerr, she should watch out for her job. Because, Janelle's coming. What would you see would be, in our trial by wine kind of world, what would you see would be an appropriate sentencing for all of the parties involved, bar the poor victims?
Well, no. So I think we should start with the victims, because let's just say that they did write their name on a rock and throw it onto the lawn. Like,
not at the house.
I don't believe
couldn't have got that far. It was only on the lawn. That's what bothers me. It was so tiny. What did they do?
Yeah,
they
could have
chucked the effort to throw it at the house.
Yeah, could have thrown it over the house.
She put it there. She made it. That's a Sharpie on a pebble, for goodness sake.
But so their sentencing was death, and I feel like that's too far. I feel like if that's what they did, and I don't think they did it, but I feel like if they did it, Maybe unfriending is okay on Facebook, not in live.
Oh,
I think it's quite enough.
I don't know.
I don't think
Maybe
they did
you'd
anything.
throw one
Poor
back,
buggers.
but that's probably the worst you'd do. Oh, Stuart just said it might have been a
yeah.
drive-by,
All
like
right.
a drive-by rocking where they just maybe they
it's
try.
a large, smooth pebble at best. It's
Maybe
like
it hit a tree and bounced off a tree instead of going through the
skimming.
window.
No, you skim something like that when you're along water. A
Yes.
drive-by skimming.
Yeah, drive-by skimming gone wrong.
I was the
They just
A
don't
drive-by
skim off the
skimming.
lawn like they do off a lake.
No, it looks like it just stopped dead.
So, yeah, I think a revenge stoning incident would be appropriate punishment, more so than death.
Well, yeah, I'm still maintaining they don't need to be punished at all. I don't think they
Did it?
were even party to any of this. I think they were just living their lives, and a lunatic got obsessed by them.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I think that's a good call.
and then just convinced everyone else to murder them. It's just the people who need to be punished are the mum and the dad, the boyfriend, and Janelle herself.
I wonder if the pebble came from the rock climbing expedition.
Maybe.
Could have
Maybe
all
there was
started
special
then.
meaning for everybody involved. Yeah,
Yes, because the rock climbing thing was fairly random in the story, but maybe that's the root of it all.
But it's funny, like
Maybe Billie gave her a rock. Maybe that pebble came away from the rock climbing wall.
Yes.
And he just handed it to her as if to say, put it in the bin, and she thought it was like a keepsake.
Like
and then
a diamond.
when he got together with the other Billie, it was just too much. So she had to get a Sharpie out and write their names on it and drop it on her lawn and call the police.
Yeah, mate.
And what I liked the most about that photo was actually the measuring tape.
Just to show how tiny it is.
That was impressive, yeah.
It's just an embarrassment of riches, that photo, isn't it? It's like, oh, God. It's a teeny tiny smooth stone that someone has had quite a bit of time to very neatly write those names. It's like an art project. It's not exactly like a threatening, I don't know, not weapon, but it's not threatening in any way. It's like, oh, haven't they done a nice job on this? Oh, put it on our front lawn. Janelle did that for sure.
I wonder who did this.
Did it.
Oh, lucky they wrote their names on it.
That was one thing they did say. Because of the way Janelle spoke, she had a certain way of speaking, as we all do, but she also was very much prone to lots of spelling mistakes. I think, she struggled a little bit with the schooling. So apparently CIA agent Chris used to make those same spelling mistakes. And again, this is where I get very annoyed. Deirdre Chambers, what a coincidence.
What a coincidence.
Tell you what, if my kids were sending me messages, pretending to be a CIA agent, I think I'd work out their spelling mistakes or the way they spoke, their grammar, etc., would be somewhat similar. That's where I get so disappointed in people.
If Chris types Biscotti one more time or Pacific, what specifically do you mean?
Yeah.
That's such
irregardless.
Stop asking me these really stupid questions.
Oh, you've got all the good ones ready to go. I can't even think of another one quick enough.
Look, I'm in agreeance. Don't start me. Don't start me with agreeance. It's not a word. Anyway.
Right. Okay, so that was one crime. What was another crime in there, apart from the shooting? What was Jamie...
for falsifying yourself as a CIA operative.
Yes,
I think that's against the law.
Get in a lot of trouble for that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's true.
Pretending to be... Oh, I've got the perfect sentencing.
Yes.
Because I just watched it the other day. Have either of you seen, I'm sure you have, perhaps not recently, the Schwarzenegger film True Lies?
Yes.
Oh, a lifetime ago.
Where I think
Jamie Lee
Bill with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes.
And I think Bill Paxton, not Bill
yeah.
Pullman. I always get the two confused. He did, yes, sadly.
What was Janelle's surname? Was it Paxton?
Potter. No, it was Potter.
That would have been good.
Anyway, Bill Paxton's character pretends to be an agent and is catfishing effectively, wasn't a term at the time, Jamie Lee Curtis. And he's a car salesman. He's like a bit of a horrid person. Anyway, he's going around telling her that he's an operative and he needs her help, and she's the only one who can help him, and she gets really sucked in. I'm sorry, Carla. To your point, happens. It happens. Jamie Lee Curtis got sucked in by someone saying they were a CIA agent. So, if she can get sucked in, I don't know why you can't see someone, Barbara and Marvin getting sucked in. Anyway, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Roseanne Barr's husband, Roseanne Barr's husband. This is terrible. I have to look at it like that.
Oh, no.
It's not going to be Arnold Barr.
Jesus.
Tom Arnold.
Tom Arnold.
Yeah.
Tom Arnold.
Oh.
I don't even know who he is.
You would if you saw him.
You would if you saw him.
What's he done?
So Tom
apart
Arnold,
from marry Roseanne.
True Lies.
They were married
He
at
was
one
in True
point.
Lies?
True Lies, that's right. I'd forgotten already.
He was in this film, True Lies, that I'm trying to tell you about. Okay, so if I were to sentence these people in the same way as, or carry out a punishment, is probably not so much a sentence, in the same way as Tom Arnold and Arnold Schwarzenegger did in True Lies, they basically swoop in, and have a whole bunch of people come in, in fatigues and all the rest of it, scary people, official-looking people, grab them, arrest them, take him into a bunker, waterboard him, all that sort of stuff. And in the end, it's not actually laughable, but it was laughable. That film doesn't translate well in our day and age. By the way, I watched the other day and I was like, this does not translate well anymore. But they take him and they hold him off like a major dam, like massive hydroelectric scheme type dam, where basically they're holding this individual, and if they drop him, he's going to die, until he wets himself and admits that he's not actually a spy.
That's a perfect punishment. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do that for Janelle. I'm in agreement.
Oh,
that's just for that crime, just the impersonating the CIA.
Just for that one. Yep, that's for that one.
Yeah,
Right.
held over a large dam till she wets herself.
Or just terrified until she wets herself and admits it was all bullshit.
No, go with a large dam.
Okay. Oh, okay. Fine with me.
I feel like if you'd say what they want you to say if you were in that situation, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. I'm not trying to get a confession. Please don't be confused. I'm not seeking a confession from Janelle. We've decided Janelle did this.
Oh, yes, I know.
Right?
Oh, yes. So
this is a form of punishment for Janelle.
No, but so you were saying that was so you think the punishment should be that. That's what I was saying, till she wets herself. But is that, I don't know.
She's definitely posed as Chris, because her spelling mistakes are the same.
Yeah.
She and I are in agreement that she is Chris.
She spelled spaghetti with a B.
She specifically said that she was Chris.
Specifically, absolutely.
Correct.
Exactly.
She had gone to school. I think it must have been high school with the guy that she, used his identity. And again, it was somebody else that she had an obsession with, but he hardly remembered her at all, but was aware of her. So when they dug there, he
Kel
was a real
surprise.
Yes. Oh,
I'm trying to think what would stop her from doing it again. And, there's the obvious thing of if you just took all her fingers off, she wouldn't be able to text.
I knew you were going to go for taking the fingers off.
I just feel like that's not okay. Like it's, maybe just taking her fingernails off.
But they'll grow back eventually. I mean, that's very, very painful and horrible, but they'll grow back eventually.
Maybe you could just grate the end of her fingers and that would stop her typing and texting for a couple of, till they healed.
Well, she'll be in prison for a long time, so whatever she's got to do, she's got to do there.
What if you inserted things into them and then
like cheese?
I don't know why you people react so badly because he's just gone cut her fingers off, grate them, take her fingernails.
I wasn't enjoying that
very
anymore.
Painful. It was the word.
No, but I kind of meant insert
things.
something like. Well, I suppose what I'm sort of going with is like little razor blades that you can't remove. So every time she tries to type, they just cut further. All right. I'm not saying it's nice. She did a thing. She manipulated people to murder two perfectly innocent people.
She'd think she's Wolverine. You would think she's Wolverine, totally. Or Edward Scissorhands.
I think for someone like Janelle, who is so caught up in the idea of being too pretty and projecting this image of being sort of innocent. Like it says that she would say on her own Facebook page, she said, I'm a very sweet and caring person. I love life and I love to make others laugh. She loved to put pictures of hearts and puppies and the rest. I think the thing that would hurt her the most would be to be told that she's not particularly attractive and actually she's not liked, because I think that would be the hardest thing. She can't deal with the reality. And I think that would be the thing that would destroy her, is actually going to her and saying, oh, that, you're not sweet, you're terrible, you're not that attractive. You know, all the stuff that she's had to build up to create this sort of idea of, you know, self-preservation or whatever else, because she's not stupid enough, obviously, if she was able to pull this off. But, you know, she's a nutter.
I mean, I'm sorry, but I really feel like the boyfriend, the mother and the father of victims, I know they did a terrible thing, but they were manipulated into it by this ingenue who just pretended to be, you know,
like
something
that.
else. Well, that's what she was going for. You know, that was what she was going for.
I'm not comfortable calling the dad a victim when he
No.
shot mother in the face. Yeah, but she's holding the baby too. Like, for fuck's sake,
Oh,
mate.
no, I know.
You're not a victim. He goes gardening with a gun. He's been itching for that. She could have just said,
Yeah, mate.
They threatened to give me a Chinese burn, and I reckon he would have gone round with his gun and shot him. They threw a rock on my lawn with my fingerprints all over it.
Fuck him. Let's go shoot him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to pay with their life.
No, she was a total mastermind. It says here, in respect to the emails that Janelle/Chris was sending to her mother, he emailed Barbara so often, exchanging photos of himself. So remember, she's stolen the stuff from the guy from Delaware who she'd gone to school with. Exchanging photos of himself and sharing details about his life, like the fact that he was a widower who, like Janelle, loved dogs, that she eventually started calling him son. Remember I mentioned that before? And she was signing off.
She's been totally manipulated.
Yeah. As the feud escalated, Chris claimed to have insider knowledge that Billie and Billie Jean were evil. He was a drug dealer. She was a whore. They wanted to rape Janelle because she was a virgin. So her mother, thinking, my, you know, pristine, beautiful girl, this has to be stopped at all costs. And that's pretty much where it got to the point where so totally.
Her mother, who is the victim, decides that an appropriate thing to do then isn't to go to the police and say, hey, we're getting these threats. It's to say to the husband, go and shoot them in the face and maybe slash someone's throat as well. But leave the baby because we're good people.
Absolutely.
Ugh.
I get that they should have gone to the police. I'm not saying they shouldn't. And that's probably why the actual legal system has given them life sentences. But
yeah,
if you are living with a gun-toting maverick, and you are very socialized with this idea of the reason he's got his gun is to protect us, right? Yep. So I'm going to assume that's why he gardens with guns, because at any moment a rogue, you know, worm could come out and you got to shoot it, right? Yeah. There could, you know, so like if you are in a world where you believe guns are great and you believe that you have a right to carry, or your partner's got a right to carry, and it's all about protecting you and yours, it's not a huge stretch to say, oh, because we went to the police about the rock and they didn't do anything.
The pebble.
Yeah.
Right? We went to the police about the pebble.
And no one was killed as a result of it. And so they didn't do anything.
No one was arrested. They didn't take it seriously. That's right. So we have to take this into our own hands, because our daughter is going to be raped and decapitated and all these other things.
What would the police have been?
I really am not actually justifying their behaviour. I'm just saying I can see.
You might be a little bit.
How a person I can see how the mother, in a circumstance where she's been brainwashed by the daughter for a whole, because that wasn't overnight. Like, there's a lot of information, a lot of emails, a lot of stuff went to her to convince her that there was this problem. And then add to that, she's got this gun-toting husband. And obviously, you know, the idea of guns and whatever has been perfectly acceptable to these people forever. I know we say it's a stretch, but obviously it wasn't for them.
Was there remorse shown by the mother? I feel like the mother probably was.
I don't know.
I don't know that there was. I haven't been able to read that anywhere. But, I mean, to Schmitty's point, it comes back time and time again to the fact that the dad, the mother, and Jamie, who was, the boyfriend, they said they were not sophisticated people. Jamie had never left Mountain City. He was really flattered by her attention because he was a bit older and he thought she was a younger, attractive woman. And her parents just, I don't know, they're terrified that something's going to happen to her. Certainly her mother. But also her mother was very much, I think that they were saying people outside of the family, or those three, had realized that Janelle was a fantasist kind of thing. But within those three, they thought they were protecting her, but they were just totally led by her and, this ruse.
Fantasy.
Are you saying they're not the sharpest tools in a shed of blunt tools?
I think that's what
I don't want to be rude.
To, yes.
I don't want to be rude, but we saw the photos of them.
Yeah.
And look,
How
I didn't
very
speak to
dare
them,
you.
but they didn't look very smart. They didn't look smart.
They were too pretty.
Oh, very much. But it just
they look like products of
when
their
you
environment.
Start to put the pieces of a puzzle together, and you're hearing more and more about these people as I've sort of cross-referenced different articles. And I read somewhere that the mother was always having conflict with somebody. She was always arguing with people. She was very much open to sort of conspiracy theories, and you start to get this idea of the kind of person that she was, who would have been totally open to being led down the garden path. And her daughter knew that. And so she knew that that's the kind of thing that would get her mother riled up. Her dad having been an ex-serviceman, happy to go and do what's got to be done.
Simply go back to the moment where Janelle says to her sister, I can get them to do anything.
Correct.
Yeah, but I still think I don't want to make excuses for them. I feel like at some point, if you decide to take someone's life, you've
got to be held accountable for it. You know what's
but
wrong.
Also,
what's wrong.
No fact, just literally texts and emails from the CIA agent who has the same spelling mistakes as my daughter. Like, if you want to believe that stuff and then act on it, you're not a good person. Think these things through.
I totally agree with you. That's why we come back time and time again. People don't seem to have to take responsibility for their own actions when they're, no one's asking you to go and shoot someone. That's just not normal. And,
I know I murdered someone, but it's not my fault.
Yeah. I've been tricked.
Okay, I know it's their fault. Anyway. All right. So back to the sentencing then, Clarkie.
Oh, yeah. Now, which crime are we sentencing again? Sorry, I got distracted again.
More importantly, who are we sentencing and which crime? I don't know. Who are we sentencing and which crime are we sentencing them for?
Yeah, well, what's
I've already held
crime?
Janelle off for pretending to be a CIA agent. Well, there's murder, but that's already kind of been covered off, I feel.
Yeah, I think the sentence.
What about just abject stupidity? Abject stupidity.
Gullibility?
Yeah,
Gullibility causing murder, I think, is a crime somewhere in there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand what God, that the mum needs a good punishment. I'm not feeling super creative at the moment, but I don't know. It should end in inability to walk or something. I don't know. There's got to be something permanent. I feel like jail's not a good sentence for her. I'm just having a look at I'm having a look on the internet, and I've found something that it's titled "Appropriate Consequences for a Teen's Bad Behaviour," and I thought that might be appropriate because Janelle was a little underdeveloped, perhaps, although she did seem to be a mastermind, so possibly not.
But we'll go with her being underdeveloped, and you're going to punish her. What does it say?
Okay, so one of them was provide logical consequences, and it's hard to attribute logical consequences to this, but an example of it is, for example, a consequence of not wearing a seatbelt could potentially be death, as could a consequence for leaving a rock on someone's lawn or unfriending them on Facebook, apparently. So that's something that you couldn't use as a punishment for someone not wearing a seatbelt because they would be dead. And as a parent, you possibly don't want that, particularly if you're Janelle's parents. You want the other person to be dead. So in these situations, parents will need to develop a logical consequence to promote the desired behaviour. Logical consequences should be directly related to the misbehaviour and should not threaten or punish the teen or the perpetrator or the perp or the mastermind. In our seatbelt example, a logical consequence for getting caught without a seatbelt is losing access to the car for a week. Another example, if your teen is having difficulty getting up in the morning for school, a logical consequence would mean an earlier time for lights out at night. That's I don't think we could have an earlier time for lights out at night for Janelle as a suitable punishment. There is another one that says
Definitely no computer time. You could have her. She wasn't be allowed to have access.
yeah,
to
you
Facebook.
can't access.
I did feel
I
that
mean,
was
she
the obvious.
only in her 20s.
You
at the
can't
time.
access
I
your
thought that was the
computer for a
obvious
week.
punishment for her and her mother, who seemed to be way into too much computer time as it was either.
Well, it's just not a strict enough
I've got
punishment.
one.
I think there is another one that says assign extra chores. So sometimes there are not natural or logical consequences for misbehaviour, and I think this is definitely one of those. But it still needs to be corrected. For example, if your son speaks disrespectfully to you, you can assign him the chore of cleaning the dinner dishes that evening in addition to his regular housework. I'm not sure how many chores you would need to assign to Janelle in this instance.
That's a lot of chores for her to do, but not just for Janelle, for all of them. So I've got a solution. Now, this machine was never built, but this machine was patented by a man called Mr. Coles. Allow me to show you Coles' patent whipping machine. And perhaps what we need to do here is go back to, like we talked about last week, corporal punishment. It's a wheel with
around, like
it's a wheel with a whole whips with
whips.
Yes, and so and they're in like the stocks, and with their buttocks raised, and you can see that.
Yeah.
Oh God!
And they have buckets for their tears.
Right.
Do you notice that the buckets are labelled tears?
Oh my God! What year was this from?
I'm not even sure. It's so silly. I can't believe I even remembered it. I don't know.
God, I love that you remember that.
I've just looked it up because a friend of ours used to have it. An older lady would go to her house.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. Yep.
The Coles Funny Picture
There you
Book.
go.
Number 1 was published in 1879. Book 2 was 1909. Book number 3 was 1951. I don't think number 4 says 1991. That can't be right.
19.
The Coles Book Arcade became one of the great icons of Melbourne.
Right.
Is that right? First published in 1879. Wow. But I remember I just going through it hour after hour, looking at that book when we'd go to someone's house and I'd be stuck after dinner while the parents were talking and I'd go through it.
So is Janelle going to be placed in the position of the boy or the position of the whip?
He's a boy. She's going to get whipped. They're just going to get whipped all the time.
I reckon she should be attached to the wheel and just go round and round and round and also bang her head on something every time she goes around.
My sentence then would be to align with the life and prison terms that they have been given, but they must spend a minimum of 10 hours every day on the whipping machine for pure stupidity.
Wow, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of the punishment used in Game of Thrones for Cersei when she had to do the nude walk of shame.
But not just once, like
Yeah, I think, but it should be a long walk. Given she's in America, it should be like from the border, the southern border with Mexico to the northern border with Canada, and possibly back again.
Maybe she thinks she's too pretty for people to be able to handle that.
So did Cersei. Yes.
Well, so was Cersei.
So did Cersei. That was the whole point. That's why they shaved her head. Yeah. Maybe, Carla, did you not see? You clearly...
Can you tell I've never watched
Game of
Thrones?
Yeah.
I know who the character is you're talking about.
What?
Oh, actually, do I? I might be getting confused.
Long
Is she a
blonde.
redhead or the long blonde?
Long.
Oh, okay.
You might
Long
hang on. You
blonde.
might be confusing her though with Khaleesi, the drag queen. Yeah.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
I am confusing her with that.
Oh.
Who plays her?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
The one who's married to Jonas'
Um,
brother? No.
well, she's not
No,
that
she's an
old.
older lady.
Oh, is
not,
she really
not
tall?
that old.
Oh, far out. Oh, Google it.
I don't know.
Cersei.
Who did you say she
Cersei.
was?
She could have had platforms on in the show, so I'm not sure. She's tall compared to Tyrion, who is
A
a
dwarf.
dwarf, her brother. So she always towered above him.
She's the queen.
Oh, I know who she is. Yes, yes.
That's it. Lena Headey.
isn't it?
Yeah. I was trying to think of her name. Lena Headey. Yeah.
Headey, yeah.
Who was
God,
absolutely
Who
gorgeous.
even knows that stuff?
Well, I don't watch it, but there's so much in the press, or was it certainly a couple of years ago when it finished, that I've got an idea who they are. I just don't, just never watched it. It'd be too violent for me. I'd be like covering my eyes
Having
all the
said
time.
that,
It's not
you
me
just
under that.
described a
Yeah,
whole
you
story
would
about
be.
the first two people got shot in the face and had their throats cut. Anyway, so Carl, so I'm happy with the Walk of Shame. Maybe I like to see the Walk of Shame and then maybe a couple of months on the whipping and then back to the Walk of Shame.
Or maybe at the end of the day, she gets a good whipping each
she's
day
finished as
for the walk.
It's a bit like the walk that they do, the pilgrim walk that people do, in Spain. Except every day, instead of going to go soak your feet because you've got such bad blisters, you have a bit of a whipping. You get some whipping.
You get whipped
because you're naughty.
because it's punishment. This is not fun.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I think that that works for me. So I'm all right with that. Obviously guilty. Everyone's to be whipped. Possibly do walk of shame and whip. I'm happy with combinations. Happy to look at time frames. I think that we should keep that fresh, that punishment, because it's very deserved. Carla, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
The only thing that I would like to see in conjunction with the life sentences in prison that they're all serving, etc., is I don't want Janelle to be surrounded by people who are ever going to fall for her shit ever again. I want her to be around people who will call her out and tell her exactly the way it is, so that she doesn't have any way of feeling like that sense of power or, the fact that she's been able to pull the wool over all these people's eyes. I just don't want that to ever happen again. So I want her to lose her power by being around people who are smarter than her and who are very happy to call her out on it.
I think she should get what I heard as you were explaining that is that what we need to do is brand her forehead with "I am a manipulative murderer. Do not believe me" on her forehead. So every time she speaks at someone, they will absolutely know where this conversation is going to lead if they believe her.
Can we do it with a Sharpie, just like that pebble?
Like a rock.
She could probably do it.
Maybe we could just you could attach the rock to her forehead that is done like that.
I'm going to attempt to manipulate you. Yes.
Yeah, I think it needs to be that clear.
Yeah. I'll just read that pebble on your. Oh no, you're a manipulative liar. Yeah. Not to listen to you. Good warning. Thanks very much.
Right.
Ciao, ciao.
See ya. I'm busy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right.
I like that.
Good one. Well, that was a great case, Carla.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Carla. That was really good.
I forgot to tell you at the start of the week start of the podcast, when you said, "How's your week been?" We had a lamb born last weekend, and he was rejected by his mum.
Oh.
So we've had to bottle feed him. So after this, I'm going to bottle feed him. And I don't know if you saw, but we have named him Jackie because he's a lammy, and so we've called him Jackie Lambie. After a politician in Tasmania named Jackie Lambie. So, yeah, I'm going to go and feed Jackie after this. So maybe that's a good time to wind it all up.
That's a great name.
Or you could stay there and I'll go and get Jackie and you can feed her and feed him in front of them.
Well, we don't really use the video though, Stu, so,
Video's not great for
it was too hard to edit.
True.
Anyway,
Truth be
well-
told, yes, you're right.
Well, you go feed Jackie
Yeah.
Lambie, and Carla, excellent episode or excellent story. And thank you to our listeners for continuing to listen. And we will talk to you all again next week. So thank you very much. So bye.
Bye, everyone.
Miss you already.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website, www.trialbywine.com, to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.